Hello, welcome back to Fred in the Shed, a CB radio video. Now I have to warn you straight away, this is going to end up a long video, so it might be an idea to pause it, perhaps go and grab a coffee or a tea, get nice and relaxed, and then we can start. Now over the years I've made quite a few CB radio videos that are on YouTube. Not only me, along with others. You've got Gary on there and you've got Steve Stevens. We all sort of do our bit. But most of my videos tend to be aimed at complete beginners. I like to try and encourage people to take up the hobby of CB radio. That often leads to amateur radio, things like that. But I try and make things quite simple, and that's going to be the basis of this video, okay? It's going to be aimed at the complete beginner, like I was in 2014 and still am, really. I don't consider myself anything but a beginner when it comes down to CB. As this video is going to be about indoor antennas, yeah, comments and help are always most welcome on the video, but can we keep it really basic, guys? And I really don't want to see any smart ass comments like, yeah, look at this, Fred, look, I've worked out all this, I'm more clever than you guys on CB, and you lot know Jack and stuff like that, because that isn't helpful for the complete beginner. Moving on. So people always leave comments and say, I want to get into CB radio, what is my best antenna to get started? And I always say, get yourself a cheap silver rod or equivalent. If you've got a garden, get it away from the house as much as possible, stick a pole in the ground as longest one you can sort of manage, and get it up high and get it out in the open, and that will give you the best chance of transmitting and receiving signals at the lowest cost. But of course we don't live in an ideal world, and people haven't got gardens. A lot of people in the UK, because of house prices, now start off in flats or condos, as they're sort of called in America. And yeah, there's no chance of getting an antenna outside. Also, again in the UK, a lot of people now rent, and landlords pretty much in general will not allow you to stick up a bloody great big pole and a CB antenna on the side of their property. And you know, these are the restrictions that people are trying to work with. Now of course you can buy loop antennas, magnetic loop antennas, but in general they're pretty expensive for the beginner that may or may not want to continue with the hobby. But what a few people have is a loft space, and I'll get a few comments throughout the year where people say, yeah, I want to start CB, can't put up an outside antenna, but I do have a loft and my landlord doesn't mind me using the loft. Now in an ideal world we all dream of having one of these fantastically large sort of lofts, but in reality it's more like this, you know, it's more like little kind of small sort of cramped dusty attics. And people work with these conditions and they construct and put up inverted V dipoles, and yeah, apparently they sort of work quite well. I've never tested one myself, maybe that could be for a future video, but it does appear to be certainly remotely possible that you might be able to get away with a loft antenna, with compromises of course. However, the more general comments I get is comments like on my T2 LT antennas, because these are really sort of cheap, and people will say, you know, can I put one of these up in a loft, will it work? And normally I say straight away off the cuff, no, it just won't work. No, it's not really worth trying. I haven't tried this of course, and this is where this video will lead to, but generally I say no, it won't work. So let's look at this in the most basic terms. Here's my Antron 99, which is the same as a T2LT really, if it was in a straight line. Now to put this in the loft, what I'd have to do is to lay it over horizontally, lay the antenna on its side. Now this is where your troubles really start, because most people use a vertical CB antenna, which means you're transmitting and receiving on the vertical plane. The antenna is vertically polarized. If you lay that over on the horizontal plane, you're then transmitting and receiving on a horizontally polarized antenna, and that is opposite to the person that you're trying to talk to. So though in effect the antenna will still work, its efficiency is going to be drastically reduced, and that is why in the past I've never recommended that you do this. And there's also another thing to consider, and that is man-made noise, or QRM. And QRM or noise is the bane of anyone trying to set up a home base CB. Now normally you try and get your antenna as high as possible, get it above the roof line, which helps reduce this problem. But if you lay the antenna over and you mount it horizontally in a loft, you're bringing it much closer to the sources of QRM in your house, things like, you know, cheap Chinese power supplies, microwave ovens, things like that. And also as well as the antenna transmitting upwards out of the loft, it will also transmit some of its signal downwards, and that will give you problems with the SWR, because some of your transmit signal will be reflected right back onto the antenna, increasing the SWR. And you know, all that is solid theory, and I'm sure that will be the truth. But another part of the truth is I've never tried, I've never experimented, so I'm going to take my very good T2LT antenna, and instead of mounting it vertically on a fiberglass pole, I'm going to pin it up horizontally in the loft. Completely illogical, I know, but I just want to find out whether it works, and we'll just see if I can actually receive and transmit and be heard. So here we are, up in my rather cluttered attic. So you see, when you get to this stage, you know, things are getting a little bit desperate, to be honest. There's my T2 LT antenna and a patch lead, and I've got a tank whip, which is going to be the same problem. It will be on a horizontal plane, it won't be polarised. They did used to make, I'll have a look when I edit this video, but Thunderpole used to make quite a reasonably compact, and when I say compact, I think it was less than 2 meters, compact antenna called a boomerang antenna, which was kind of like this affair. You had a vertical, then you had like an angled ground plane section, which I imagine was coiled, and it was on a sort of a bracket. So, you know, if you was on a flat, for example, or what's the American condo, in it, Americans call them condos, then, you know, this thing came out on a bar, and you could sort of mount it, sort of sticking just slightly away from a balcony or something. So there was the boomerang antenna, which not as effective as a silver rod, I don't think. So anyway, there's my T2LT, and I'm just going to basically just string this up horizontally in the attic. Like I said, it's certainly not ideal, and I'm not expecting great results. That's if I can manage to get it to safely SWR in. So incidentally, this is the driving project, which is currently undergoing a complete renovation. This will be another project that probably won't feature on Fred in the Shed 1, because you guys aren't always that interested in it, but this might come up on Fred in the Shed 2 at some point, because I'm planning to do massive changes with the driving simulator. I haven't touched that for a long time. So it's another project that's on the way. But yeah, so just think of stringing this up, you know. I mean, this is a very clustered attic. I've got this sort of silver bubble wrap stuff, which I don't think it's metallic, because I do get radio signals in here. But I'm just going to string it up across the eaves there. You can sort of see my other cables. I've got a sort of scanner antenna just there. But yeah, just going to sort of string it up across the attic and just see what happens, really. And just see if it's possible that you can use a horizontal T2LT in the attic, like the guy asked. And I'm not all that hopeful, but if I can sort of at least I can get heard. It's never going to be as good as a vertical, but that's what I'm going to do. So let's crack on with it. That's it. I've kind of strung the T2LT up. It ends there, just a little way from the end of the sort of loft. I might just push it up slightly higher. Goes along up here, past the LED light I'll have to turn off, and then I'll just follow it past this sort of partition. There you go, and then we come through there, around here. I might just tie that up a bit, and then it ends all the way down there. So it does sort of run about 3/4 of the length of the loft space or the attic. Whether I get this SWR in or too much noise, no idea. It's a lot of cables all around it. I'm not very hopeful, but you know, desperate times, this might be your only chance to sort of get out on the radio. So just going to secure it up a little bit, and then wire it up to 9900, and let's see what happens. All set up. It's got the matcher in line, just on the basis that I might have to sort of reduce the SWR. But without the matcher on, and I'm on 27305, I will try the UK 40 in a moment, but also I'm on FM as well. And we're on about half power on the 9900. And we've got an SWR of around about 1.5, which, surprisingly, it might be slightly higher actually. No, it's coming in, I don't know if you can see that. It's about 1.6 now. Now I can use the matcher. If I put the matcher on, I can get it right down to 1:1. You're sorry, you can't see that. I can get it right down to 1:1 there with a matcher if I need to, which means that I can use the full power of the 6900. It's just 1:2, but I'm pushing my luck a little bit. I'm going to keep it around half power, and watts wise on FM, yeah, so just under 20 watts. That should get me out. Noise wise, I've got a little bit higher than I would normally get off the Antron 99. I've got S4 of noise, but of course I don't know what it's actually going to start receiving. So people will be coming on the 305 group hopefully in about 20 minutes or so, and then that will be the test. What I'll do is I'll just do a rough test. I'll contact people on the Alinco, and I'll switch over, and I'll just see how it performs really. Yeah, roger that. Yeah, we've got the same thing here. It's just sort of been drizzling all afternoon. I assume it's the same up your end, yeah?
Yeah, roger on that. Yeah. What sort of day you had today? Okay.
Yeah, we're barely getting Dave, unfortunately. That's a bit. Oh, it's going to be a bit of a foul, I'm afraid, guys. He's there, but there's so much noise coming in.
Mr. Fred, are you sorted yet?
Yeah, I can only just about hear you, Dave, on the horizontal. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be working very well. I'm going to give you a shout in a second. I don't think I'll make it, but I'm going to give it a go.
Okay, yeah, just stand by everybody there, and when you're ready, go ahead, Fred.
Well, I'm ready, Dave. Right, I'm going to give it all the beans. Yeah, 061. 061. Yeah, we've got Freddie in the shed, St Albans, giving you a shout on his horizontal antenna there, and giving it all I can. So yeah, Freddie in the shed, giving you a shout to 061. Come on. Okay, so you can actually you've got a voice pattern. You have a voice pattern, Roger. Now come back to me. Okay, Dave. So you did actually hear a voice pattern then?
Yeah, I could hear your voice pattern. I know it was you, but I couldn't hold a two-way with you. You're right on the sort of me noise levels drop now, believe it or not, to about two bars. So just on that level, Fred. I know you was there and could hear you speaking, but I couldn't hold a two-way. What about the receive?
So yeah, initial disappointment. Basically, that was trying to get out to Bugger Dave. It's just not coming in very well. There is a big hill in between me and Dave, but we're only sort of, I would say, 7, 8, possibly 9 miles apart. You know, we're not that far apart, really. You obviously could hear me there, but not enough to cue so. So, going to leave it for today. Okay, so putting the T2LT horizontally across the attic, it didn't work. I don't think that's acceptable. I'm going to try one more thing. Just try one more thing. I'm going to run the T2LT in an inverted V, coming down and ending sort of down now. Now, really what you should do, if you do an inverted V, it should really be a dipole, so you really should run the feed in the middle. This kind of flat V, if you like. I'm just hoping that it might help with the polarity, because I think obviously, as I said, everything's being sort of broadcast to me from a vertical. So if I'm kind of at a slight, say, 30-degree angle, I don't know, it might work. And again, it might not. So, yeah, we're going to go. The guys should be on in a moment. And, yeah, let's see if we can start receiving people. I've not got a lot of hope, to be honest, but that's what all experimentation is about. So, just got to go on a 305, and straight away it's receiving.
For this type of radio, because at the end
We've got Robbie there in Watford. That's a good 8 or 9 miles away. We've got Awesome Dave on a new radio. It's a little bit off frequency, but it's receiving Rob okay. I'm going to jump on in a minute and see if I can get a signal report.
Receive tone. I've got mine at 0, but if you want to get fiddle with that, I'll see if Fred and Shed's back. Yeah, Fred, you right?
Yeah, copy, Robbie. Hopefully you're getting a copy on me.
You're a quiet Radio 5. No noise, just a nice clean audio. But it's a lot quieter than it was on your other radio, another aerial. But you're not giving me much of a signal. I'm getting 1 to 2 on a lazy needle, mate. Over.
Yeah, all copied there, Robbie. You're coming in at 6s and 7s, which is quite surprising. Yeah, it's going to be poor. As I say, I'm on a horizontal sort of planed antenna there, so it's polarised completely wrong. But yeah, I'm quite amazed that I'm actually giving you a Radio 5 and you're able to get me over.
Yeah, well, no problem, mate. The audio's fine. It's just a bit quiet. It's nice and clean, nice and clear. I don't know, maybe put a bit more power in it. I don't know if that would make any difference. That would up everything. But at the end of the day, it's nowhere near as good as your home base setup, fella. What will you be changing over to, Fred?
I'll be going on to the 9900 and we'll be doing I've got the T2LT up in a loft here, but it's sort of about a 30-degree inverted V at the moment. I'm just trying that, Rog.
Right, okay, yeah, go ahead, I'll be listening for you.
Right, okay, Dave. Hopefully you might be able to receive me this time. Giving you a shout on the 9900 there, Dave. You're coming through a little bit better to me, but you're still not the greatest, to be honest. But anyway, Dave, are you receiving me? Are you getting a copy on Fred in the Shed? Over. Yeah, copy, Dave. I got your 1 to 2. Yeah, that's not all that great, is it, really? I think it's slightly better than when I had it before. So I've slightly sort of inverted it. There you go. So it seems that the inverted V, works to a point. I think a point where it is good enough to sort of get you started. Obviously, if you do the antenna completely horizontal, you're polarised completely wrong. But that sort of vertical V there, 30-degree angle V, yeah, it worked okay. I mean, it's picking up, it's receiving.
Yeah, well, roger that. You run it through a burner, mate, and mix a little bit.
And on the 9900, yeah, okay, it is a little bit more powerful than the 6900. I did call it a 6900 earlier for some reason. But yeah, on the 9900, I'm getting out on the net, I'm getting out 10 miles, being heard even through Dave there over the hill, which is quite a tough call. And yeah, so there you go. Yeah, it is possible then. It is possible if you are really stuck and you're desperate and you just want to buy a £15 T2LT or make one yourself.
I see, turn it up a 10, just see if it...
And yeah, chuck it in your loft, and it won't be perfect, but it might get you out. It might get you heard. So we're not going to stop here. I've got another antenna that I will. It's raining at the moment. I can't show you, but I'll just add that on the end of the video. I've got another antenna that I want to try, which may or may not work as well as the T2LT, and yeah, maybe I'll think about making a dipole, or maybe now this has worked so well, I might think about making a proper, sort of balanced dipole and sort of sticking that up, and that would get the SWR down, also to hopefully cut down on some of the noise. But let me just add that little bit on the end and I'll finish the video. Thanks for watching this bit. Actually stopped raining here in the UK after 4 days of bloody torrential rain. So, as I was mentioning when I was on that video, yeah, this is my plan. This is a sort of mobile antenna. This is a sort of a bottom sort of coil loaded mobile antenna. Normally you'd have this connected to a mag mount and you'd have it on a car. I can't remember which one this one is. It's a Thunderpole. I don't know if it was a Defender or something like that. If you recognise this, you may have had one, let me know in the comments. Let me know what the name was. I've had it quite a while, and it works quite well with a mag mount as a mobile whipper antenna. And you could just put a mag mount on the bottom of this, and if you've got a very old metal tank perhaps in the loft, you could sort of put this on, say, a metal tank or any sort of solid metal mass that you could find, and that would give you a ground plane, and it would work, you know, reasonably well in the loft, but you might have SWR issues. So there you go, that's the Thunderpole sort of whip. And to go with that, we have another one exactly the same. So we have two of these Thunderpole whips that I can't remember the name of. I think they might have been Defenders or something like that. So yeah, we're going to have sort of two of them. And then to go with that, we have a little T-joiner there. So let me just join that off camera and I'll sort of show you what we're going to make. We're basically going to make a dipole. There you go. That's it, from its length that side to its length that side. So what we've got there is we have a balanced dipole with sort of two bottom loaded sort of mag mount whip antennas. So we're going to put that up into the loft. I'll try and sort of get it as vertical as possible to keep it sort of vertically polarized, because obviously that T2LT worked much better when it was sort of at an angle as it did when it was sort of in a straight horizontal line. Of course, you know, with all of these sort of wire antennas, or even with these sort of dipoles, if you put them in a straight line, they do become quite directional, so it almost becomes like a beam really. So you have to sort of bear that in mind. So yeah, so that'll be the next video. We're going to be putting that up into the attic as vertical as possible, and we'll see how it performs. I don't know if it will perform as well as the T2LT, because that in itself really is a vertical dipole when you think about it, how it's made. But yeah, hopefully I'll get heard on the net. So that will be coming up on the next video. So make sure you're subscribed and stay tuned for that. That will be in about a week or so time I get round to doing the sort of the editing. But as for now, cheers for sticking with this one, because I think we're going to be up to about the 20-minute now. So if you've stuck all the way through it, yeah, well, cheers for that. I don't suppose many people have. But yeah, if you've gone right the way through, that's quite impressive. But anyway, it's just for me to now to say, as always, stay safe and cheers. Thanks for watching.